Somebody we must not forget in the midst of all this Jack Boys 2 hype, and there is obviously another video on Jack Boys 2 dropping soon today, so don't worry, but we have to talk about Ye. We have to talk about Kanye because he's been up to something ever since he first dropped those first 3 Bully tracks on streaming, so we have to talk about this, about the Shanghai show, and also a little bit about that EP. You know what I'm saying. Let's jump straight into this. If you want to stay up to date with everything surrounding hip-hop, make sure to subscribe and also become a part of this community by joining our Discord server in the description. You can now sign up for my free newsletter with the first link in the description. It comes every Sunday and recaps everything that's been happening in hip-hop over the past week, so make sure to do that. So as I said, we had the first 3 tracks from Bully released on streaming. We thought this album would be coming in its entirety at some point very soon. He then dropped an EP with Diddy's son that, you know, a lot of people frowned upon because it's Diddy and he just dropped an EP with his son. Why? And then he also gave us 2 more tracks from Bully, which honestly weren't even that good. Let me know what you think about those. I still don't know where he's going with the record, but he did also have a show in Shanghai in China that we knew about just this past weekend. This was Donda's birthday, so this was pretty special to him, and I think also why he chose that date to have the performance. Now, to kind of recap this, there wasn't any new music being previewed, but at least he was performing some of the all-time favorites from fans with a mic live there on stage. That's also something that we don't always get from him. If you remember some of the Vultures 2 listening parties, sometimes it was just Ty and him jumping around. There was no mic, he wasn't doing anything on stage, and a lot of people obviously criticized that. So at least we got that. And the performance itself was also pretty good. We obviously got some crazy pictures from that, as we always do with these listening parties. There was some stuff going on with people complaining, him being late, him, stepping off stage in between different songs. The venue also, I believe this comes from the venue, also released a little press statement to address these concerns. They talked about how there were technical difficulties that was the reason that he was late, and he wasn't actually late himself, and that there were malfunctions with the equipment. That's why he had to step off stage, and that he really kind of selflessly sacrificed himself by standing there in the soaking rain, still wanting to, perform and be there for the fans. And then we also had the situation that he left like 15 minutes early, and then there was a song being played after that while he wasn't on stage anymore. So that was pretty weird, but they also addressed this, saying this was a mistake. He was kind of shocked to learn of it, that there was another song being played after he left. So it wasn't perfect, just like any listening party is, but at least it was there. At least it was something for the Chinese fans. And I mean, to sell out I don't even know how many, 73,000 people in China and Shanghai, that's pretty big. And to have a show like that. So obviously we can tell that while we do heavily criticize him for the stuff he's doing and saying, his fan base across the world is obviously still very strong, and they are immediately there when you get the chance to see him live. So I think that's, at least for him, a good sign when it comes to all the allegations of nobody cares about it anymore. But that has to be said with the addition of the music needs to, keep being good in order for fans to still care, even though somebody like Kanye can probably just do shows like this with the greatest hits and get through with it. So that was kind of the shows. We also got some new hints at new Yeezy shoes that we might get. These are some of these boots. They don't look that crazy. It's just something that, people have been pointing out that he wore on stage, which we could be seeing. Now, the question is obviously what's still happening with Bully with In a Perfect World. You remember that album that he changed the title from Cuck with a triple K? It's crazy, man. When he changed that album title to In a Perfect World, which would be way better, we talked about this, there might be some crazy theme behind this with him being in a perfect world. A lot of things would be different in a perfect world, stuff like that. People were going crazy for this. And we do still have 2 more shows coming up, one of which actually got canceled. We talked about this in the last video as well. Slovakia got canceled. There were some rumors that the festival coordinator, the venue, and then also they kind of pulled at least the local government into this. They were going against Ye because of his remarks, obviously, and tried to get it banned, and they were successful now. That has been canceled. So Slovakia is not happening. So, everybody that bought tickets, I'm sorry for you, but there is still South Korea coming up on the 26th. So in about 2 weeks, the weekend in 2 weeks. So that could be one of those dates that we could see something happening. I do honestly believe this will be just like the Shanghai show. This will be, just older greatest hits and nothing new being previewed. Just because, at this point, there's nothing happening in between those 2 weeks now. There's 2 Fridays in between. I don't think he's dropping an album then. So likely those will just be this will be the same set list probably as Shanghai. And the question still remains, what's with Bully? Is that ever coming out? Are we just getting these little EPs with 3 tracks, 2 tracks? We just don't know. And we also don't know how that's connected to In a Perfect World. We know that he's working on that record. We know that there is something coming, but as it seems like right now, the fact that he released more Bully singles after the EP with Diddy's son could be a hint at that he wants to drop Bully first, but we just don't know. He could be changing his mind at any point in time. We also have Ty Dolla $ign dropping Tycoon this Friday, so that's pretty big. I mean, that's a record that we talked about a lot in connection with Ye and obviously with Vultures 3, but the two of them have not been seen together or have not connected on any way. Also, when it comes to making music, ever since we, ever since we never talked about Vultures 3 again, that I don't think that's happening. I think, while at some point in time we had this crazy 5 albums at a time thing, I think right now it's realistically just Bully next, and then In a Perfect World being this mysterious album that we don't know if it's ever coming, that got renamed and we don't know what's on there. So honestly, I see Bully dropping next. At least I hope so, that we get the full record. And maybe we'll get some more info at the South Korea show, the 26th. Obviously, I'll keep y'all updated if anything happens, so make sure you stay subscribed. And then we have to go from there and see what we can learn from that. But until then, the show was at least pretty good. There is full recordings of the entire set on YouTube, so you can just look it up, Ye Shanghai show. It'll show up. You can watch, I think it was about 1 hour, 45 minutes, something like that. If you cut out the part where he gets off stage and nothing is played after, or the song is being played, but he's not performing live. So you can definitely watch that. It was a pretty good show, so we can be happy about that. And it kind of feels like he's just not concerned with anything happening right now in hip-hop and just doing his own thing. And I mean, sometimes that's a really good part, if you just disconnect from everything and just make good music. So let's see where all this goes. Let's see if Bully is great. Let's see if In a Perfect World is great. I do want to know what y'all think about this. When do you think Bully is fully dropping? Do you think it's ever fully dropping? And how do you think In a Perfect World is connected to this? And are you excited for Tycoon this Friday? I don't see a lot of people talking about it, but obviously it's an album that we've been looking at for quite some time, which we were excited for because we thought that was part of the Vultures ensemble that we were looking at. Anyway, let me know all your thoughts on this in the comments down below. If you watched this video to the end and liked it, and you want to stay up to date with all current hip-hop events and releases, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, hit that like button, and go follow my social media, and most importantly, join my Discord in the description. Until the next one, you'll have an incredible day, and y'all take care.